say it would be the asteroid that wiped out millions of dinosaurs and plunged Earth into darkness. Others would say it was the Black Plague that affected Europe in the early 16th century. But today, I'll be taking you into a scenario that sounds fictional, but is dangerously close to reality. What if honeybees went extinct? This is not just an ecological disaster, but a global socio-economic disaster that will ruin the entire ecosystem of the Earth and all the inhabitants of it. Now, before I move into the basics of the disaster, we have to understand why honeybees matter. Honeybees are one of the tiniest organisms on planet Earth, but their work is massive. They pollinate 75% of the world's food crops, and they contribute over $100 billion annually to global agriculture. And 1/3 of everything we eat depends directly on pollination. So basically, every food that we eat on the table, almost the majority of it is only due to the contribution of honeybees. Think of any food that you can name of apples, almonds, cucumbers, berries, onions. Even livestock feed like clover is bought only due to the work of honeybees. Without honeybees, these foods don't just become expensive. They completely disappear off the face of the earth. That's why scientists call honeybees the backbone of global food security. Now, we move on to the immediate consequence of such a mass extinction of honeybees. The moment honeybees vanish, the first shock is in the agricultural department. Firstly, yield decline or crop yields drop sharply. Fruit and vegetable supplies crash, and everyday food items becomes rare. That means the immediate food requirements such as grains, millets, wheats, and fruits and vegetables, everything drops. The stock drops on international level. The entire crops like almonds or blueberries, which rely almost entirely on bee pollination, may no longer exist in the market. The other important aspect is the market impact that the disappearance of crops may occur. These may affect the food availability, and our supermarket shelves will look nothing like the way they do today due to the shortage of major food groups. Now, another major impact is the food security crisis, because without this food, the world faces a nutritional breakdown. As you all know, many third world countries, children face poverty and hunger, and the food they eat is not up to the daily nutritional requirement growing child needs. Once such a phenomenon occurs, the dietary diversity falls, malnutrition increases not only in poorer countries and developed countries like Africa and like India, but on a global level, including developed and developing countries. Major industries that will collapse include horticulture, agricultural exports, honey production, and food processing, which are fundamentals that humans require to operate on a daily basis. Another aspect is an economic shockwave where millions will lose jobs, governments struggle to maintain food subsidies, and economic pressure will shake the national stability of almost all major countries in the world. So we can see that this is no longer an environmental problem, it becomes a humanitarian crisis. So another escalating issue is a long-term ecological disaster, which is even more terrifying. Many flowering plants cannot reproduce without bees. As we all know, bees are the basic pollinators and the most in number in nature. So the forests will lose balance, birds, butterflies, and herbivores will decline, and entire ecosystems will begin collapsing, which will lead to a chain reaction to the food web. This means fewer carbon-absorbing plants, leading to worsening climate change and soil degradation. And some regions will even experience micro-desertification, which is basically pockets of barren land spreading over time. So we can see, due to such disappearance of such a small insect, all major ecosystem, environmental ecosystems in the world will collapse and lead to major ecological disasters. Now we will move on to our climate and soil natural carbon absorption, which will worsen climate change and lead to rising temperatures and higher degradation of environment across the globe. So also lead to land degradation, which reduces soil health and increase carbon emissions from deforestation, accelerate environmental decline. Next, we move on to social and political consequences. This another aspect of disaster which we have to face. As the food goes where the social political landscape will become unstable due to the collapse of economic market. Food prices will obviously surge due to the low availability of food, and countries will compete for limited supplies, increasing global tensions. Wealthier nations such as the US and the countries in the European Union will outbid poorer nations, deepening global inequality. Also, third world developing countries like India and other rural economies will collapse, internal migration will rise, and as a result, the political unrest becomes unavoidable. In short, using these could destabilize entire governments. So we can see how governments will collapse, environmental ecosystems will collapse, and almost every human on earth will die of hunger. Now, most of what I presented here today might sound fictional, but it is slowly turning into a reality because of global warming and rising temperatures across the globe. So some of the reasons why bees are declining are due to pesticides, especially pesticides which contain chemical compounds like neonicotinoids, which affect almost all major species of bees and kill them. Another one is habitat loss from monoculture farming. Due to decreasing forest cover, bees will have lesser trees lesser vegetation to pollinate, and this will lead to lesser population of bees. Another one is climate change, which obviously means the rising of temperature, which will alter the farming seasons. Another one is parasites and diseases, which can affect the health of bees and beehives on a global scale. And the last one is pollution, which can affect the nutrition from limited plant diversity. So we can see that extinction of bees is not just a hypothetical event, it's a slow ongoing process which we must control before it turns into a global event. Now, there are ways we can prevent this disaster, both in ecological and technological ways. Ecological solutions include reducing pesticide use, which contain harmful chemicals, and also to promote organic farming among farmers, especially agricultural major countries like India. Another one is to restore wildflower habitats and to support local beekeepers, which propagate and support the population of bees across the region. Technological innovations include artificial pollination drones, which may be not as effective as natural bees, but still are good for bee population. Then there is genetic research for disease-resistant bees, which involves DNA splicing and genetic resistant species. Then there are other government policy-level interventions such as regulations on harmful chemicals and bee-friendly farming incentives, as well as global monitoring of pollinator health. So we can see saving bees requires the collaboration between scientists, governments, farmers, societies in a unified manner. So as a conclusion, I would like to say honeybees are tiny, but their impact on the world is enormous. Losing them would trigger one of the most silent and devastating disasters humanity has ever faced, which we all may not think about rightly. If they disappear, our food systems weaken, economies will destabilize, ecosystems will collapse, and humanity faces a socio-economic disaster unlike anything we ever seen before. Therefore, protecting bees is not about saving insects, it's about saving our future. Thank you.
Anyone has questions, please feel free to ask now.
pollinators like butterflies, other species of bees, beetles, birds, and even bats do help in pollination, but they cannot fully compensate for the effect honeybees produced on flowering plants and pollinating plants. Honeybees are unique because they exist in large organism colonies allowing for mass pollination, and they visit flowers repeatedly and systematically, and they are highly adaptable and can pollinate into a range of crops. So, yes, your question is right. There are some species that can adapt to pollination, but still not up to the level of honeybees.
I have a question. If honeybees disappear, would technology like bees will replace them?
Technology can support pollination, but it cannot replicate it on a global scale. Robotic bees and drones are still in experimental phase, but they are expensive, require constant maintenance, and cannot match the efficiency of millions of bees that exist today. A single hive has around 50,000 bees, and there are millions of hives worldwide. So, doing quick maths, we can realize replicating all those organic life forms nearly impossible. So, to answer your question, it may assist in the short term or in a limited number, but it cannot completely replace our natural pollinators.
And I would for the high hobby and powerful fascination on what world might look like if honeybees were extinct. Your talk highlighted the critical role honeybees play in sustaining ecosystems and supporting human life, reminding us of the urgent need for conservation and awareness. With Detox 3.4, we continue to explore ideas that connect design, innovation, and societal resilience, wishing everyone